That is.
Yep, there you go. Yep.
All right. April. Ready for you.
Sure thing. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is April Everett, and I am the chair of the Public Policy Committee for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this wonderful, wonderful community forum that we're bringing before you, candidates forum that we're bringing before you for the 190th Legislative District. Our moderator for this evening is, again, the wonderful Ms. Cherry Craig, who is a community advisor, advocate, reporter for KYW, award-winning reporter for KYW News Radio. Cherry, I will turn it over to you at this certain time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, April. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second of a series of 3 Pennsylvania State Representative Candidates Forum. Today is May 26th. Hopefully you all have gotten in your applications for a mail-in ballot. If you didn't, you'll be voting in person. And make sure when you get those ballots that you vote right away. And so I'm very excited to welcome our candidates for the 190th Legislative District. And so I want to welcome you all to the live feed. Please tag a friend and share this video right now. I want to welcome Randall, Amber, April, everybody who's jumping in. Thank you so much for being here. It's very important that our voters are educated on the various candidates that are available to them for this upcoming election. And I'm really excited to have those folks here. Again, tag a friend and share this video. And I think you can log on to VOTET.com if you want to make sure that you don't want to track your ballot and everything, because today was the day. And so the way this is going to work is I'm going to introduce each of our candidates that are here today, give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you, and then you can post questions in the comment section, and those questions will be posed to our candidates. Today, I'm very excited that we have Amin Brown here, and we also have Danielle Patterson, and I will introduce each of the candidates to you in alphabetical order. So first up, we have Amin Brown, born and raised in the 190th District. He was raised by a single mom and worked by the age of 11 to help raise and care for his 7 siblings. He went to Hamilton, Sierra, and Overbrook, and after graduation, discovered his love for working with children and founded a daycare center. He went on to create community programs on gun violence intervention, drug prevention, and much, much more. Amin, welcome to this forum. And thank you to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Pennsylvania chapter for organizing. And so I want you to take a couple minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, to just explain to us why you decided to run for office.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for the invitation, and thank you for having myself and my team a part of the platform. But yes, so my name is Amin Brown, and I am running for state representative for my community. And some of the main reasons why I'm running is because I'm very passionate about my community. And I really, really want to see us thrive. That's well overdue. The district has been underserved for a long time now. And our community deserves someone who's actually genuinely going to be there for them and really be that voice in Harrisburg. But not just in Harrisburg, somebody that is action driven in the community. So yes, so I'm here running for my community for the 190.
All right, well, thank you so much. And again, welcome. Danielle Patterson, welcome to this candidates forum. Danielle is an attorney whose cornerstone has been advocating for her West Philadelphia community. She's a LaSalle and Villanova law grad who also has a master's of law and trial advocacy from Temple Law. She works to stop disenfranchisement in her neighborhood. She created the Legal Lessons for Life, a platform where she shares her knowledge with the community. Danielle, welcome. Please explain to us why you decided to run for the 190th seat.
Thank you, Sherry, so much for the introduction and for your time today. And thank you, of course, to the Coalition of 100 Black Women who are so strong in our community and are one of the reasons that I am actually running. And specifically, I am going to say that I am a Black woman who are the backbone of the Democratic Party, but whose voices are not heard often. Okay, we're where they turn when they need the votes turned out. We are where they turn because they know that we are the backbones of our community. And I continue to be that. I live in the same West Philadelphia neighborhood where I was born and raised because it is important for me to be able to show success in my community. Very specifically, we have been neglected oftentimes in the 190th when it comes to funding shortages, where it comes to access to education and economic opportunities. And a lot of that has been because we have not had true advocacy coming out of the 190th. As an attorney who's been fighting each case one at a time for individual rights across all of the lines that are the aisles in our community, I can take that level of advocacy and fight for an entire community by being able to actually draft real legislation that impacts our community while I continue to provide the level of constituent services that I already provide without being actually an elected official. I've already been out here doing the work, and now I want to take it to the next level so that the entire community can benefit and everyone, young and old, can reach their full potential.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And so I want to just put this question to both of you. You know, you both born and raised in the neighborhood. You both seem to love your community. But what issues specifically, and I want you to kick this off, like what issues sort of attracted you to this, to run for this role, and that you want to focus on if you are elected on June 2nd? And I think we have to, unmute you. There you go.
Yeah, so the issues that attracted me in West Philadelphia, the quality housing shortages, the poor education system that we have. I'm a public school, like you mentioned, Hamilton, Sayre, Overbrook, all public schools, and also the food insecurities. I've been on the forefront of this COVID-19 virus, and I'm learning so much about the food insecurities. Myself and my team, we've been out here on a daily basis servicing hundreds of people a day, and hearing the side conversations when people were in line 6 feet apart, just hearing how thankful they are that someone actually took the time to invest in making sure that they were okay. Not just by making a phone call, but actually showing up and going head on with this virus and basically putting my life on the line to make sure that the district doesn't go hungry. We just received some messages from some of our providers where we get the food from. They said we're at like over 300,000 pounds of food that we then gave out in the last 60 days, and that's decent. And when people come and get in line, there's no ID required. It's just, if you need anything, myself and my team, we're there for you. And the other thing is jobs, the quality jobs that we have in our community. We're not offered the same opportunities as other races. Like we all know, born and raised in West Philadelphia, I was fortunate enough to be able to go on and start my own business and do pretty decent. But I had to fight for it, and it wasn't offered to me. The opportunities were not there. I had to make the opportunities myself. So as state representative, it's going to be my job and my responsibility to make sure people that look like me have access to training programs and quality jobs, not just your Wendy's popping up on your corner or your local grocery store. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Amin, for that. And Danielle, what issues are you particularly attracted to and would focus on if elected?
So very specifically, and it's something that is near and dear to my heart because I've already been advocating for them. And that is specifically the health disparities in our community, especially as they relate to our older adults and as they relate to our women. We are not being treated adequately when we arrive to hospitals or to senior facilities. Our seniors are being abused and neglected when they go into senior homes. These are issues that I have been fighting for, again, one case at a time. My core platform is specifically around health in our community as it relates to older adults, and of course, the food insecurities that not only have I addressed now during the midst of the pandemic, I actually started addressing them more than 20 years ago, advocating and working with the initial Environmental Protection Agency to have the land at 56 and Market certified to be able to actually put the fresh grocer there right off of 56 and Market, and eventually working with the LL63 to put the ShopRite in our local grocery store. Now, what we saw with the food insecurities, what I did was I recognized that they were our most vulnerable communities that were being impacted, and very specifically our seniors. I did not want to put them on the front line and risk their health. So instead of bringing them outside to come stand in line, we did door-to-door contactless delivery services. We made sure that delivery services at our local markets were expanded so that everyone who had SNAP benefits or any other kind of benefits who didn't know how to order their food online was able to actually do that through our office. And we were able to do that by continuing the partnerships that we've already been working for and gained, again, in the over 20 years I've been working in the community. And I'd like to see that continue when I am elected. That's why I have made these partnerships. You leave the work to the people who have already been doing the work. They already know how to service the people. What they need is more resources. The answer is not to take the wheel and recreate it. As we know, in the Stone Age, when the wheel was first invented, it was bumpy and it was not smooth. We don't have time to start from scratch. We've got to start with a wheel that just needs some smoothing and some rounding and some resources. So those are my issues. I'd like to be able to make sure that women are heard when we get into these emergency rooms, that our pain is considered the same as our white counterparts when they get to the emergency rooms, that we are not dying, that maternal fetal health is actually a priority, and that we are recognized. The infant mortality and fetal mortality rate is ridiculous in our community, and we have not been able to control it, mostly because the legislation is put in the effect such that we cannot be heard. Black women and Black people come to the hospital and immediately we are considered to be drug seeking.
Thank you.
That's problematic.
Yes, thank you so much, Danielle. Your time is up. I want to, switch topics a little bit, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's putting questions in the comment section. Again, tag a friend and share this video right now. It's important that everyone within the 190th legislative district gets to hear from these candidates. Not everybody who is running is actually here, but these candidates took the time to talk with you. So share this video and tag a friend right now. We want to make sure we have educated voters. And so we have this question from our audience on Facebook. It says, even after casting votes, community members are made to feel disenfranchised as their concerns go unheard and unresponded to. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process? 2 minutes, because we have quite a few questions. Danielle, I'll start with you and give Amin a chance to respond after that. So how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process? And let's unmute 1 second. Can we unmute Danielle in 2 minutes, okay? There you go.
There you go. Sorry about that. So first, it's about accessibility. What I've been able to do, even just during the running phase, and even before that, just with my law office, is I actually run a separate line in my law office for community concerns. It's a constituent service line because I'm able to provide access to things and information that others are not, just because, one, I am an attorney, and I have other attorney friends who are willing to work in the community. So I like to bring that to bear. So we've basically been running already a constituent services office in the 190th. It is my pledge that I am going to maintain this office regardless of what happens in the election, because people don't know where they need to go to get access to information. And that's the first step. They need to feel heard and listened to. The other thing is that I've been able to reach over 150,000 individuals on using social media. Social media is designed to be social for a reason. You bring the issues right to them, they get an instant response, you get follow-up, and you know what? And they are learning. They're learning more and more. And that's a part of being heard and being connected. And of course, you can't forget the front line. I am actually a member of the Haddington Cobbs Creek Black Captains Association, and I continue to get word out through them. I would work with the existing community partners to make sure that they understand what is going on in their communities and how they can access and partner with the office.
All right. Thank you so much, Danielle. And the question goes to you, Amin. Even after casting votes, community members are made to feel disenfranchised as their concerns go unheard and unresponded to. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process? You have 2 minutes. So
the main way to access our constituents in West Philadelphia is by person-to-person contact, but due to the recent circumstances, that's kind of going to change. But speaking to the seniors and the families, realistically, people, they want to be involved in every step of the process. They want to know what's going on. I myself, I never left West Philadelphia. I don't find out things until I go on social media in most cases, or I watch the news and I got to look at the crime that's being committed, and then they'll squeeze in some kind of information that we really need. So with that being said, there's going to be regular scheduled meetings, community meetings, not just in one part of the district. We'll do them spread throughout the district so we all are being educated at the same time. So then the information spread. And then we'll have local town halls. And in reference to resources and educating the community on what the state offers, we're going to have several satellite offices, mobile constituent services for the people who cannot get out the house. This is how we keep our community educated on what's going on and what resources are available, so we're not continuously left behind.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm going to go back to our list of questions here. Can you talk about your experience? And Amin, I'll go right back to you. That would have prepared you to serve in the state legislature.
So my experience, it comes from my personal experiences in my community, my love for my community, my dedication and my commitment to my community. That says a lot. And me being a candidate, that's not making me who I am. I've been this person. I just never been the type to brag and boast about my accomplishments. I always operated behind the scenes and served hundreds of families. I've been doing it. And when this seat became available, it was not in my first instinct to get elected. I never wanted to get elected, but the community spoke. And that's why I have such a strong support system in the community. The community chose me. They motivated me to want to be the next state representative of the 190th district. All the way back when the first special election back in March 2019. But yeah.
Okay. Danielle, could you talk about the experience that has prepared you to serve as state representative if elected?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if someone else was going to unmute me. Sorry about that. So again, I've been practicing law for more than 20 years now, and I've been working in the community for more than 25. So those experiences mean that I have touched all walks of life, people at their lowest points. As I tell everyone, nobody comes to see a lawyer when they're having a great day. So as a result of that, that shows, and it helps with my empathy, and it shows the compassionate side of me, because I'm able to see people at their lowest points and elevate them. But in addition to that, I have a professional level of expertise that is unparalleled by any of my counterparts in this race, because I've actually drafted legislation previously. I've worked with various different representative and Congress people to get legislation drafted and passed. I know what it takes to actually get these things worded correctly such that you can actually advocate and make the 103 friends that are necessary to actually get legislation passed in the House done. I understand the caucus process. So that's what makes me uniquely qualified. So with me, you get a real legislator and a real constituent services counterpart. And I think that is one great combo when you're looking at a state representative, one who's accessible to the people, but can also play with the big dogs.
All right, thank you so much, Danielle. And so I want to switch gears and go and talk about education a bit. Amin, what are your top priorities for improving public education in your district and beyond?
So my background is in early childhood education. I did attend community college, pursuing a degree in early childhood education. And I did own several early childhood education facilities where we focused on actually educating our children at a very young age. One thing that we prided ourselves on, our business model, was the structure of what the structure that the children receive from the morning, well, when they get there to when they leave. And the parents, they were very, very impressed with how their children came home. So quality early childhood education is going to be one of the main priorities of mine, because we all know the best years are your early years, when our children are sponges at that very early age. And that's what puts you on the direction that you're going to, get you right, put you on the right track for life. Excuse me. So
Wonderful.
early childhood education is very dear to my heart.
Thank you, Amin. Danielle, what are your top priorities for improving education?
Well, education is, of course, dear to my heart, as I believe that it is how we break and end cyclical poverty. And those have been the tenets of my backbone in my life, such that I have attained many degrees, but worked with folks in our community to get them in and through college. So that's how Legal Lessons for Life started. But as far as education, what we need is innovative and creative education so that our children can play on the world stage. Specifically, we need to invest adequately in STEAM. We need to bring arts back to our schools, because arts help the mind to be able to develop and be sponge-like. We need to make sure that our children have access to the technology that they need, that our teachers actually have access to the technology and are able to actually teach our children. We need to be looking at bottom up and not top down. In our public schools right now, too much of our percentage of dollar for our children goes to our administrative and not enough to our teachers and our brick and mortar buildings. I want our children to be able to be healthy and safe in the place they spend most of their day. So we've got to look at asbestos abatement, and we've got to look at taking the monies for asbestos abatement, using the only union who's actually doing that, which is 332, and they actually employ folks who are in the 190th. So we win on all fronts with economic opportunities and education, and together we will do better.
Wonderful. And so I want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in right now. Please tag a friend and share this video. Also, please post your questions in our comment section, as they will be provided to our candidates here. My next question relates to displacement And displacement is particularly acute among Philadelphia's Black population. I mean, studies show that this is due to neighbors in older homes surrounding new construction, and they see their property taxes rise due to improvements, while the new owners get a 10-year subsidy. What is your take on that subsidy, as various areas in this district might see revitalization in the next 5 to 10 years? And Danielle, I'll start with you and then go to Amin.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the question. So very specifically, revitalization is actually key to our survival, meaning that we need to make sure that our streets are safe from buildings that have been falling in or decayed and abandoned. But we have to make sure that any advancements are with the neighbors that we already have in place. So to that end, what I look at is a restructuring of our real estate taxes and property taxes such that they can be put out over years instead of every year they are put into our coffers. Specifically, they're coming out of our pocket for those people who already can't afford them. So an example of that is if I own a property and I choose to sell it in 15 years, that those taxes would then be assessed at the end of that 15 years so that I can still live in it, be able to make improvements to it, and continue to work with it. Specifically, as it relates to the tax abatement, we are coming up actually on the end of many of that period of having the tax abatement, and that is actually a city issue itself. So we wouldn't be able to legislate specifically the tax abatement. What we would legislate as state representatives is how the funds are actually allocated and approved at the state level. So what we need to do is make sure that we are mandating where those funds are being spent when they do make their way back into the budget, such that everybody in the community is benefiting and not just some. We've got to make sure that we are paying homage to those people who are living in our communities and who have made our community great for generations.
Thank you very much. And Amin, the same question to you. What is your take on the 10-year subsidy as various areas in the 190th see revitalization in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so a lot of this goes back to our people being educated. So the 10-year tax abatement, it does help. I mean, it does hurt our communities on multiple different levels. And myself being in the real estate, not that I have built anything, but I know a lot of people who actually are a part of this 10-year tax abatement thing, and they are profiting off this 10-year tax abatement like no one has ever seen before. And it is not fair. It is displacing our seniors and our families, and it's changing our communities on a daily basis. But I am not with it. It takes away from our funding for our public schools. And the developers who come into our communities, they build, and they don't give back. And the profit margin is there. I've seen several spreadsheets where the developers are making an additional $100,000 off of that same property due to the fact that they're building in Philadelphia, and they don't, who they sell to don't have to pay the taxes. So they increase their sell price of the property because of the 10-year tax abatement, and then that takes away from our public school system. So that is a problem. And it does raise the neighbors' taxes, but the neighbors, they're not being educated on the programs that are available to them. The homestead. There's thousands of properties in the city of Philadelphia that still don't have the homestead program attached to the parcel. That is an issue. Then also, a lot of seniors don't know that there's a tax freeze program. So
yeah. Thank you, Amin. And my follow-up to you is related to the minimum wage. If elected, how would you push legislation that raises the wage to $15?
Yeah, so once I'm elected on June 2nd as the next state representative, we plan to build relationships with legislators who have already been pushing legislation to increase the minimum wage, and then letting our communities know, galvanizing, coming together, and actually going to Harrisburg, having these community meetings and making this a top priority issue, something that needs to be addressed. Me personally, $15 is still too low, but it's a start. It's double what we have now. So I'm all for an increase. But yes, so I'm great on building relationships. I made it this far with all my relationships. I can make a phone call and almost get anything done. So yes, reaching out to other legislators, seeing how I can help them push forward with the legislation and get the job done. The district, they're ready for action. They're tired of the lip service. They're tired of people making promises. We need a problem solver. We don't need someone making promises to us. So I'm here to solve some.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I want to Danielle to talk about the minimum wage. What will you do to advocate to push it to $15?
Well, very specifically, here in the city of Philadelphia, we've already determined that the minimum wage for city workers is $15 an hour. And so what I would advocate for is leading by example and being able to emulate to my co-representatives and members of the House through the numerous relationships that I have developed with folks who are already elected across this state, because I've been trying cases across this state now for 20 years, making sure that I already know the various legislators, and I've been studying House bills. So I understand where my would-be co-representatives already stand on various issues. And to what I need to be able to exemplify for them is that where there is more that we are similar than we are dissimilar. Very specifically, we have a largely agriculture industry here in Pennsylvania, and that is not really impactful in Philadelphia. But I need to make those folks who represent in Monroe County and Schuylkill County that raising the minimum wage for all of those workers would actually benefit the communities at large, because it would enable people to actually be able to invest in real estate. But what I'm not looking for is the minimum wage. What I am looking for is to convince my co-House representative members is that what we need is a living, sustainable wage so that people can purchase property, educate their children, and have a quality of life. That's what's in key. We can't just look at the bottom. We've got to look at the top. And so what you need to do is continue to make impactful decisions, continue to watch the legislation that's already coming down, which I have already been doing. So I'll be able to hit the ground running on day one, as I've already identified potential partners in actual legislation to introduce, not piggyback off of.
Thank you very much. And we have a question from the Facebook group, and I want to give it to Amin here. It says, considering the Pennsylvania House is majority Republican, how will you work with fellow legislators from across the aisle to push your agenda?
So if you're from West Philly, you have this certain way about you. In any room you walk in, you're welcome. Any room I walk in to date, I'm welcomed and I'm loved. And I plan to take that same positive energy to Harrisburg, and not just to be looked at as a young African-American Democrat, but I'm going to be looked at as a young African-American serious person who loves his community and who would do whatever it takes to make sure that the best decisions are made for West Philadelphia. I'm not looking at titles. I'm going to be welcome at every single table. I've already been having several conversations across the aisle, on the Democratic side and the Republican side. And they're very excited that there's a strong possibility that someone who thinks like I think might be coming to Harrisburg. And they are ready to work on the Democratic side, so we can actually get some serious business taken care of. I don't look at Democrats or Republicans. None of that matters. What matters is the people of West Philadelphia. And I'm down for whatever would benefit us in West Philadelphia and across the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much, Amin. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's on the Facebook Live group. Thank you so much for posting questions in the comments. Please tag a friend and share this video. This is the 190th Candidates Forum. And so Danielle, I think you touched upon this a little bit in your previous answer, but what would you do to build bridges across the aisle in this Republican-controlled legislature?
Well, for me, there is a big difference between being a Democrat and a Republican. It's why I've never changed parties to run in any other election. Being a Democrat is who I am to my core, because that means that I believe in a social programs agenda. That's what being a Democrat is all about. And I believe that in equality for all, that we all need to have access. And I believe that I will continue these relationships that I've already been building and working with to make sure that our voice here in West Philadelphia is heard. I won't have to go to Harrisburg to make these friends. I already have these friends. I won't have to make anybody take me seriously because they already see me as a true and natural advocate. That I already had my street cred. I've already, kind of cut my teeth up in Harrisburg, having worked on legislation before. These are not new Republicans. They've been there for a while, because state representatives, you have to work to build your credentials and to move up in the chains. So I've already been doing that. And I see that because I'm already there, that's going to push us even further along with our agenda to be able to actually get things done and some legislation passed. Come on, the 190th has been missing on these fronts for close to 20 years. And it's time to change that, not by starting and learning the job. It's by coming into the job and knowing how to do the job to get it effectively done. And I believe that I am the candidate to do that.
Thank you, Danielle. And I want to put this question. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. And that's what we've been focused on for the past 9 weeks. And so what we've seen is that COVID-19 has exposed multiple issues that disproportionately affect the African-American community: healthcare, unemployment, housing, food accessibility. If elected, Amin, how will you ensure constituents in your district remain connected to resources? And what legislation would you implement to help eradicate poverty? And you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question is, the COVID-19 has exposed multiple issues that disproportionately affect African Americans: healthcare, unemployment, housing, food accessibility. If you were elected, how will you ensure constituents in your district remain connected to resources? And what legislation would you implement to help eradicate poverty? So it's a two-parter.
Yeah, so with COVID-19, like I said before, it really affected West Philly and it hit us hard. But myself and my team, we've been out there continuously educating people on the resources that are still available. We've been out there on a daily basis, making sure people, we softened the blow, I'll say that. And that goes back to the action that I stated that's needed. And as far as legislation that will be that I can work on, I'm going to need to, like I said, tap into the relationships that I'm going to build, see what can be done on my end, because we need something now. We don't need something that's going to take us a year or two to work on, or going back and forth with Republicans. We need action now. We need relief now. And so educating our people, that's going to be the quickest way. Like I said, we don't have a lot of people in the district who know all the resources that are available. You go to other districts in the state of Pennsylvania, they have access to the resources to make sure their refrigerators are full, or access to the resources that get them more qualified for a better paying job. So educating the people and acting now is what we need. We need action today.
All right, thank you, Amin. And so, Danielle, I mean, we talked about what COVID-19 has exposed. And so the two-parter for you is, if elected, how will you ensure constituents remain connected to resources, and what legislation would you implement to help eradicate poverty? You have 2 minutes.
So what we do to make sure that they're connected to resources is, again, continue my constituent services to be able to directly access. In addition to that, expanding the network with the partners that I've already identified, such that they are able to directly touch the individuals. Specifically, I am one person. I need a team around me to make sure that we can get something done in the community so that those people are being touched when they need it most. That's first. As far as legislation, this is where, I really focus, is because that's what we actually need. Very specifically, we need enforcement legislation for the health disparities. Specifically, we have seniors who are in our older residence homes who didn't have access to things because regulations did not exist. We have standards that oversee them from the state level, but we don't have enforcement of those standards. And that's easy legislation that we need to make sure is being mandated, and we need to get that done with support. In addition, what we also have is we didn't have equal access to responses that what were necessary in our community. So as a part of, we need a CARES Act almost for Pennsylvania, which is so that we can make sure that our disparities are addressed, as well as so that we have an actual pandemic response team. We had one under Obama nationally, and we know that it was actually dismantled as soon as Trump came in. So we had a governor who had to come in and be the president, basically. So we need to help the governor to make sure that we have a pandemic response, because we do know that wave 2 is out there, and if it's not going to be COVID-19, then it might be, the booja flu or something. Like, we don't know what it's going to be. The important thing is that we actually need to be ready for stuff instead of always responding to crisis. That's what helps us get through. So that's what we need, is an actual Pennsylvania mandated pandemic response team.
Thank you very much. And we're about to wrap up. And so I'm going to give you this last question, and I'd like you to take a minute and use it as your closing statement. And at the conclusion of that, please provide your website. So when you get the time signal, just wrap up and give your website, okay? And this final question, and I'll give you final word, Danielle, it goes to you first. Why do you believe that the community needs you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm unmuted by the host. I was waiting. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So we know in our community that Black women have been the backbones of our community. I need to be able to exemplify our willingness to come together and work together to lift our communities up. And I believe that I'll be able to do that, and I'm uniquely qualified to do it because I bring that balance of education, professionalism, experience, and actual legislative experience to be able to actually see things done for the 190th. We won't be reacting to things. We are going to be a model looked at on a national stage of what you need to do to uplift an entire community based around our core values. And our really core values are really that we believe in social, economic justice for everyone. We want to be a community where everyone, young and old, reaches their full potential, where we understand that together we will do better. And I believe that Attorney Danielle Patterson, candidate for the state rep, push button number 17 on June 2nd, is the one to do.
And please give your website quickly.
Please, you can reach me at Danielle Patterson for the 190th on Facebook, pattersonforthe190th.com on the World Wide Web, and of course, Patterson for State Rep on Instagram and on Twitter.
Thank you. And you get the final word, Amin. Explain why the community needs you.
So the community need me. The experience that I lived through, when I walk and stand on the corner and I see these young men that look just like me, gravitate to me and tell me face to face that they need me. and I say, well, listen, I need you to help me navigate through these communities, and let's move our community forward. But being someone that I was shot before, I was incarcerated before, my upbringing with my father not being there, my mother and her, some of her issues, but she's made it through, and all she needed was some more attention from her children, and myself and my siblings. We embraced her, and she made it through whatever she was going through. Being in and out of shelters, being homeless at some point, but that's what makes me the most qualified candidate for the 190th, because I actually lived and been through what majority of the district is going through.
Thank you, Ahmed. And please give us your website.
Yes, so my website is voteahmedbrown.com. It's voteahmedbrown.com. And my Instagram is ahmedbrownphl. And Twitter as well.
Thank you very much to Ahmed Brown and to Danielle Patterson for being here as part of this 190th Legislative District Candidates Forum. I'm Cherry Gregg from KYW News Radio, and I want to hand it back over to Hope Foy. And thank you to the National Coalition for 100 Black Women Pennsylvania chapter for organizing this.
Thank you so much, Cherry. We really appreciate your time. Ahmed and Danielle, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We just wanted to do a quick reminder today. Today's date is the 26th of May. Today is the last day to vote or to apply for a mail-in ballot for the primary election coming up on June 2nd. So go ahead and go over to VOTEPA.com right now and apply for your mail-in ballot. If you plan to vote in person on June 2nd and you don't know where your polling place is, please also visit VOTEPA.com to find out where you can go to vote in person. On behalf of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Pennsylvania chapter, we thank you all for participating in tonight's forum. Thank you, Cherry. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Danielle. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good evening.